I mean, it's slightly both. We'll ramp up Ron. He'll play more minutes tonight, as well as Russ and Pat Bev. Some of the other guys who probably normally wouldn't have played tonight will play. So I think, we'll just go about it. Our last preseason game, we feel comfortable where we are with the system and whatnot. So, injury is a big part of our game, and again, prevention is a big part of our game now in terms of load management, health management. So we feel good about where we are, and we're going to roll our guys out and try to just compete at the highest level, and again, secure the knowledge, the corporate knowledge, even more so in terms of the system and how we're playing and performing within the system on both sides of the ball.
And last one for me, just about Russ and role and thinking about what a bench role could potentially mean for what you want to see there, and if that could carry into the opener.
Yeah, we discussed it yesterday, and it's something we touched on, during the summer here and there, and he's been a pro, man. Russ is one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever come across in this business, on and off the floor. He totally understood. Totally looked me in my eye and told me, said, yeah, coach, whatever you need me to do. And you can't take that for granted. I mean, that's for a player of this stature to be willing to try something different, something that he's unaccustomed to. I mean, he started a bunch of games in this league and performing at the highest level in this league, even being an MVP. So for him to trust us and trust what we're trying to do and what we're trying to take some notes on, seeing if that part of him, to see if him being in that part of the rotation has any benefit to us as a whole. Again, my hat's off to him. I salute him, because a lot of guys would have had a lot of pushback, even if it's a preseason game. He totally was selfless in that moment, and I expect him to come off the bench. He'll be the first sub, and he'll play at a high level, I'm sure.
Darvin, what was the thinking in terms of just what you saw in preseason and making all these pieces work? What was the thinking going into that choice?
Well, just, some guys play better off the ball, some guys play better with the ball in their hands, and through no fault of their own, that's just how they're built. It's you're not gonna have LeBron James play without the ball in his hands for 85% of his minutes that he's on the floor. At some point you gotta allow him to orchestrate. Same with Russ. Right. And so to create some type of balance, we wanted to look at this, the setup of this type of rotation and see if it works for us. That's the door's not closed on Russ starting. The door's not closed on if this works. We got to explore it even further. So it's totally a strategic move, and just we have one preseason game to check it out and see how it looks, and hopefully things work out and we're successful. But we're not at the finish line. We're at the starting blocks. We're not scrambling trying to throw, some different lineups out there just to make one last ditch effort. We're in the starting blocks. We're at the beginning of this thing, and it's a marathon. So you'll see a lot of different things that we tried, not just finishing up the preseason, but early in the regular season.
Darvin, in terms of, you touched on this a little bit, but sitting down and having that conversation with him, was that yesterday that you guys talked
Yes.
about? Like, I mean, he hasn't come off the bench, I don't think, since 2008, it was his rookie season.
Right.
Is it more do you have to, when you're talking to him, is it more worried about how this could affect his pride and stuff like that, or is it more selling the strategy of it? What are you trying to accomplish in that conversation with him?
I'm just trying to let him know, man, that I think he's still a highly effective basketball player, and it's not a demotion, it's a realignment. Mm-hmm. When people get caught up in who's starting, who's not starting, and they never really look and talk about who's finishing the game. So it's not a demotion that that you're not going to be with the starters. It's just a realignment of our rotation. And so you look at them, and I think the rapport we've built since they gave me the job, and again, he's been nothing but supportive throughout the summer since I signed on, and I've been very supportive of him as well. And we have a really good relationship. And the biggest thing we talked about early on as we're building this relationship is being, the lines of communication, being open and being honest with one another. And I come from a place where it's just it's no smoke and mirrors. I'm gonna shoot straight with them and let them know what I'm seeing and how I'm feeling. And to his credit, man, I think he believes in what we're doing. He's got an opportunity to see what we did over the course of the summer, what we did open gym in September, and now training camp and these preseason games, and us being consistent with the type of habits we're building and the type of principles we've implemented into our system. So I don't think he knows I'm a straight shooter. So I think he's going to give it a try, an earnest try. And again, my hat's off. I salute him for that.
What does that do? So does that move Kendrick then into the starting lineup, or what are the like?
Well,
what does that do to the guard rotation?
Yeah, well, we'll have to figure that out. I mean, Lonnie have to shoot around. We decided to sit him, so that's going to alter the rotation a little bit, and so we'll figure it out, man. We'll figure it out for sure. Just know Pat Bev and Brown will be starting for sure.
Coach Ham, it also seems like you're trying to see what works for that second unit, what's best for the second unit. I mean, This is a team ball here. It's just not about one person, and maybe you just think that, and Russ too, that he can help out on that second unit.
Absolutely, man. It could be phenomenal. I mean, when they went on that championship run, not comparing the two individual players, but he's a great Hall of Fame player in his own right as well, and Rajon Rondo. And he took ownership of that bench mob that came off the bench for the Lakers in 2020, and they won a championship with him, orchestrating that second unit and making sure they stayed organized and stayed competing at a high level. In terms of Russ, I see a bunch of similarities in that way, and him being able to, orchestrate and dominate the ball, and to have guys in the proper space and running with them, and him pushing the pace constantly, keeping the pace at a certain level, or taking it to a higher level even if we're struggling, starting the game out, whatever. But I definitely, it's again, man, I can't stress this enough. It's not a demotion. It's a realignment. I believe that we put him out there where he can make full-on decisions with the ball, with guys around him that are catch-and-shoot guys, that are runners, and I think the sky could be the limit. But we'll see tonight. Tonight is the first swing, at that pitch.
Darvin, you mentioned that you guys had talked about doing this in the summer, and I wonder, at that point, did you have any sense of how Russ might take it? And then if you fast forward to this conversation yesterday, I mean, was it a relief for you to get the kind of response?
I mean, it made me, I wouldn't call it a relief. It was just, it was just a confirmation, so to speak, that this guy is what he say he is, and how he approaches the game as a true professional. And again, he trusts me. And so that's not an easy thing for a guy of his caliber to do, and just to say, okay, coach, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm all about the team. He's willing to sacrifice, and I'm happy. So now we get to see it, and I think his energy was great to shoot around today, and I expect him to come off and compete at a very, very high level. And I'm anxious to see how it works out as well, and we'll work through it. It's an exploratory move.
Coach, it's the last preseason game. You said it's not over. You still can tinker with it all into the season. But how much can you evaluate one preseason game?
I mean, you have to have a starting point, and you'll see what goes, what works, what doesn't work. We'll look at it again after the live action through film, and it's something that we want to continue to build on, or maybe tweak something else or another person that he's playing with. We just want to see how that energy is of him, that first wave of energy, and laying that initial foundation of him coming off and just seeing how the performance transpires. That's it. You don't have to act and try to get the whole world in the first time you're swinging at something. Like it's if we get a couple of positives, and we'll definitely try to build upon them. And if it doesn't work, we'll go to something else. That's just the nature of the game, the nature of the sport.
Was the plan always to try this preseason, or was it, on Wednesday? I think he had, just flow of the game, he only had 3 shots in his touches.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's something that we keep in our back pocket, along with a lot of other things, and the possibility to play big. Is there with Brian at the 3 AD at the 4, Damian or whoever at the 5, and starting a big Russ and Pat Bev or Lonnie, coming out rolling out a bigger lineup. But That's why we do the individual work, the combo work, the team work that we do. And we implemented a positionalist system where there's a lot of moving parts, and we feel comfortable about all of our guys being able to perform irregardless of where they are in the rotation, at what point they're coming in the game, what they're starting the game. We feel comfortable about all of it, and that's our job, to figure out what works and then to go with it.
Darvin, was there
That's
a
fine.
defensive component to your analysis here? You know what I mean? Like, you talked from the jump about what you want to do defensively in terms of Russ's, impact on that end and the way those pieces fit defensively. Was that part of the calculus?
We looked at all of it, and thus far defensively, I mean, I think he's been trying, he's been fighting, he's been competing. He's had some great moments in film sessions where we've highlighted some of the things he's doing on the ball, off the ball, contesting shots, getting hits for rebounds. So definitely, we all, that's just not zeroed in on one player.
Right.
Everyone has to defend and do their job and pull their weight in that area, as well as offensively with our running habits and our spacing. But defensively, we're not singling anybody out defensively. Like, we expect him to compete at the highest level on that side of the ball as we do with the rest of our players.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Darvin.
Thanks.
No, that's cool.
Thanks, Mitch.
Hey, what's up, Ham? Sammy?